brothers and sisters of the multiverse. I want to dive into the state of the world today. When you look around, and you're in a bigger city in the most busy hour, take a minute. Take a minute, take a deep breath, and just watch the people around you. Watch all the people. They're hurrying on what seems to be life important tasks, appointments, works. They don't even perceive it as unnatural. Never stop to see it, they think they don't have time to stop and think for a second. They don't take the time because they would miss out or something. It's sad. It's really sad and heartbreaking. It's just what you gotta do, right? Grinding and hustling day after day. Why? Why? In the last 300,000 years, it was never so. Only in the last few thousand. And why? What changed? The invention of the plow is only a small part of it. Accumulation of goods. Yes, tribalisms were always there, but I believe most of them traded and cooperated, not fought each other. Sure, there was that too. But I think that's only a small portion. The trade of goods, the trade of knowledge benefited everyone. The exchange of information and technologies. But where do we live now? They had their lives in their hands. They were sovereign individuals, self-sufficient, in a peaceful anarchy. Yeah, no, all the connotations they want us to believe. And negatively about that word alone, the bad word. It's not our human nature to just mindlessly fight each other for overabundant resources. Overabundant. No one, no matter what any paper says, owns any land, the earth, the sun, the rain. We are just stewards, temporary stewards and consumers here. But knowledge and technologies were often withheld from the rest. Power hungry, soulless ones. For them, it's a treat, power over someone else, or apparent power, or temporary power. What holes do they want to fill in their souls? What happened to that poor people? Or are they really soulless? Like Edgar Cayce and Madame Blavatsky and such said. That would make sense. Because how else can you explain all the attempts, and sadly mostly successful, to make us dependent on others, on the system of the governments, any type. Aren't you sick of cables in your house, everywhere? Hasn't Tesla proven 100 years ago that we don't need them? I've seen a demonstration myself in Tesla Museum. Easy peasy. But why do we still, 100 years later, have cables? It still is our problems, right? But why not ask why? It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. It's just one more thing to dig out of Mama Pacha and create jobs, to create taxes. To trade our lifetimes at a job most people hate, to provide those who rule them with even more power. How does that make sense? We shouldn't pay for land. We shouldn't pay for water. We shouldn't pay for electricity. We shouldn't pay for food. We need knowledge and resources. We need all these thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of patents unsealed. Free energy, permaculture, and our own two hands to build a house. We can have all the technologies and amenities and all of that, without having to grind 9 to 5, or often 7 to 9 all day long. And with AI and such, we could have also all the services with minimum maintenance, maybe an hour a day, maybe two max. Heat systems, cooling systems, 0-point energy. Even flying cars or something. Long ago, it's not. When was the clock invented? 13th, 14th, 100, right? Really? What about the Antikythera mechanism? It could almost put modern Swiss clocks to shame, and it's 2000 years old. about the Baghdad battery and light bulbs in ancient Egypt and stuff like that. So what happened in the last few thousand years of our history written by the victors? What's in all these ancient technologies? Like, why do we have to pay for water? The knowledge exists for hundreds of years to turn even seawater to drinking water, simply through fire and distillation and little filtering systems with charcoal and all of that. The seafarers knew it. How else could they survive? They couldn't bring so much water along, and it would mold and rot and whatever in the barrels when they're weeks long at sea. All of that. All that we need was there long ago. Hundreds, some thousands of years. We're practically living now in a parallel dimension or something. We could have a whole different world. Very easy. So much potential, so much force, so much time was wasted. So much attention misguided. Because of perceptions of someone's authority over the masses. Through a handful, mostly. Why would that realization be so dangerous to some? If the masses would realize that they don't have to do anything but work for themselves. And yes, learn and share with others. Maybe your neighbor has something growing in his garden that you don't have, and you have something that he doesn't have, and you trade. And good is. I would even say about 90% 5% of things we need, we can provide ourselves. If you're allowed that land to use it without paying someone for it, who paid for it? Our own grandfathers in some war paid for it, and now we still have to pay for it with money. Those so-called authorities, they just watched from their castles how we slaughter each other for them, and they then have us pay for it in labor and our lifetime. That makes sense. It's mind-boggling how most of the people don't even go there. What is it? What is it with avoidance? Of the obvious truths. The societal tendencies toward avoidance through entertainment, consumerism, or ideological distractions. Is a form of collective atrophy. It weakens our capacity to hold complexity, discomfort, and responsibility. Most of you may know it, but I can quote Jung. If you don't make the unconscious conscious, right, it would control your life and you will call it fate. Such a tragedy. It just takes one little leap of courage to face some things. Take a few minutes to think about it. But most are blinded by the false plethora of so-called progress, which is in many ways regress. then we have all the psychological mechanisms of disassociations and estrangement of ourselves and the world and the others and our labor and our lives and our food and the nature. Take Dimitri Sergeyev or Herbert Marcuse. Read those two maybe. Just to get a few glimpses. The perception and the awareness of why we perceive the status quo as an unchangeable path, it is something very curious. We're stronger than this. We're smarter than this. And no excuses like, but everyone else is doing it, so must I. What could I do? I'm just one of the 99.9% or something. That should be over once and for all. That kind of thinking. But 15 years ago, I stumbled for the first time on alternative styles of living, on eco-villages, intentional communities and stuff like that. Auroville, Tamira, and all of those. But back then, there were like 15 or so. Nowadays, there are over 1,000 all around the world. And that gives me enormous pleasure to see. There's the hope. Not fighting the old, but creating a new, a better world. Look at GN or something, like Global Eco Village Network and stuff like that. There are more of those. It's possible. All they still need to be truly self-sufficient is some of the patented technologies, like free energy and stuff, to not need any money at all. And that's the best proof of our true nature, because they're there for so long, and you never hear anything bad happening. You don't hear any of it, of any news. It's just peaceful people coming together, have fun, eat together, play together, work together for each other, for themselves, just living free as far as possible in today's world. Yes, there's still some governmental influences, right? But it's still much better than the double shifting in a corporate world for things that you don't actually need or massively have to overpay at the shop. You don't need any of it. The only things that require more coordination and more cooperation and bigger factories and stuff are things that, like complex tools, computers, handies, space satellites, whatever. But that's it. Most things we can do on our own. 95% of it. It's always a longer transition from one age into the other. Takes a few decades mostly, but I'm glad to see we're getting there. Some faster, some slower, but we're getting there. Most of us. And I just hope we can forward it a little faster, encourage it, talk with each other about it, spread the word. It's not about condemning ourselves for being less aware of some stuff. It's just the acknowledgement of the status quo and learn, progress, and grow, and wisen up a little. That's also a perfectly natural progression. Which can be accelerated by openness, curiosity, courage, and not be held back by avoidance, fear, or distrust. That's basically all. Be good to each other and be kind to others, brothers and sisters. So much for me.